So, welcome to another episode of CirqueCast. We are on episode 21. Episode 20, we had Facundo Jimenez. We interviewed Facundo Jimenez in Dallas. And if you haven't had a chance to see the episode, make sure you do. Again, that's episode 20. So, our last discussion episode was about Volta. And we'll start really quick with some quick news. And it actually does involve Volta. And it has to do with the DVD and the CD being recorded. Which is very exciting because, I mean, we all love Cirque du Soleil media, don't we? Even if some of us may not necessarily like what we're seeing, it's still exciting. So yes, the CD was recorded, or at least the singer posted on her Instagram that she was recording vocals for the CD, and this was on June 22nd. And then we saw some posts on Instagram regarding the DVD, which concluded on July 1st, and I think it was 2 days of filming. I mean, are you guys excited? I know we haven't really seen Volta, but this will be a good way to see it if we don't get to see the show soon.
Oh yeah, I'm excited because I probably won't get to see it for a little while, so I'm very interested in not only hearing the music but seeing the DVD.
And I want it in my ear holes. I can't wait to hear the audio for that. I am so excited for that album to come out. I want it in vinyl. I want it on CDs. I want it. I'll take a cassette too. Heck, sell it in cassette.
Mini disc.
Laser. Did you say laser disc? Did you say laser disc?
No, mini disc.
Mini disc.
Oh, I'll take it on laser disc.
8-track tape. Or is that too far?
I do hear a lot of people saying, the people that have seen the show, that they really like the music. So I'm really excited. Hopefully it's not going. I mean, well, this is the thing. We talked about it previously. If it's an inspired by CD, well, really it's the same producer, the M83 Anthony Gonzalez, who created the music. So, but I like my shows to sound, or my soundtracks to sound like the show. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see. And then on a comment about the DVD, I really hope that with Volta they do some sort of either Blu-ray or they release it. They do, actual digital media or digital video HD quality, because I mean it's just so sad that you have these amazing shows, or that are filmed well when you compare it to some of the other DVDs, and then you get it in just DVD quality, and it just kind of defeats the purpose. And we saw that they were shooting with 4K camera.
Yeah, wasn't there a post where somebody had seen like a 4K camera or something like that was filming or something like that?
Right, but even then, I mean, I'm sure they film with HD cameras, Curios and Lucia, and then yet they're still only released on DVD. And I understand if it doesn't make business sense to release a Blu-ray version, but at least release it online as again, digital video. Sell it online on iTunes or whatever, and I mean, I'm sure there's more to that than just, hey, I'm gonna sell something on iTunes. But still, I wish they would at least try to do something like that.
Right. I think the interesting thing of the DVD is part of somebody else's Instagram, I think, came across where they were talking about doing a preview of the DVD within 2 months. So it sounds like they really want to push this out quickly, which is good for us because we really want to see it.
Well, see, and Thomas Hubner, or if I'm pronouncing my last name correct, he's doing his blog, Cirque Inside, I think he's calling it. And on the video where he talks about the filming of the DVD, he says, "See you guys in 2 months for the viewing of the DVD." So I'm imagining that they were told that it'll be about 2 months, and obviously it has to be approved by the artistic director and all those people. And then once that, because that's what happened with Curios, and then once that's approved, then it goes into production, and they start selling it. But if I was, at least with Curios, by the time the artist saw the DVD, it was after it was approved by the artistic director, and it was ready a few days later. After that, it was ready for to be sold in the big top. And then that's the other thing. So is it only going to be sold in the big top? Because we still haven't seen an updated website, the e-boutique. Even though when Dario and I were in Denver for Lucia, one of the merch supervisors told us that they are planning on changing the e-boutique once again. I know we've heard it before, and then we're waiting for stuff to hit the website, and it just doesn't happen. But they really are looking into going with a different company, and there was some really cool stuff that was, we were told was going to happen. Like, for example, if you go to a show, one of the things that we're exploring is you go to the show, and they don't have a shirt like your size. Well, you can order it and they'll have it delivered to your home. So sort of that stuff. They're changing their point of system, their POS system. So hopefully we can see this new website or system or company that they're going with really soon. And I think Volta was the first show that they're using with this new company for the merchandise. So and Volta seems to have some really cool merch. So that's I guess that's a good indication of what's to come if it does actually happen.
I heard the same thing from the La Nouba gift shop as well about the online boutique going to change soon. So I'm hoping that happens sooner than the end of the year. Come before Christmas. That's all I want.
I doubt it would be that fast if the last update from the website was any indication, because that took over a year.
Yeah, over a year.
Did they finish it?
They finished some of it, and then they kind of just they stopped updating it with merchandise. But oh well. And then speaking of still with media, really quick, the Lucia VR, Cirque has been doing lots of VR recently, and Lucia VR is now officially out on the Oculus store for Samsung, and so you can find it on any of your Samsung devices that are compatible with VR. And it's Dario actually got to try the VR experience before it was released. I think this was released on June 20th to the public, but we got a sneak peek when we went to Lucia or to Denver for Lucia, and Dario actually lives in Denver. But yeah, they had the Talk Festival, and right there they had a booth where they were selling tickets for Lucia, and you could experience the VR experience. And it's actually pretty cool. It's fairly long. It's about 14-15 minutes, and you get to see a little bit of straps. You get to see a little bit of the Russian swings, juggling, a little bit of juggling. You get to see the singer, some of the characters. Yeah, and that was pretty cool. And there's another act.
Really cool.
There's another act that I'm forgetting. Oh, you get to see the running lady on the treadmill. So it's pretty cool if you guys get a chance to check it out. Go ahead. It's free to download. Again, if you have a Samsung device on the Oculus store. And Richard, whenever I go to Atlanta, I'll take it with me so you can see all the other ones. They also have a Curious one. They have a Zarkana, Ka, and that's right. Oh,
and more to come, I understand.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh. I wonder what other shows they would do. I guess Volta.
Volta probably.
I guess that's a new way of sort of marketing their shows.
Well, I'd have to look up the article, but the article or the press release that mentioned the company that does the VR. In that press
Felix
release,
and Paul.
Yeah, okay. In that release for the Lucia VR experience, they had mentioned that Cirque was either they were doing it or Cirque was going to provide a repository for all these experiences online, and I think they were going to then add to it. So I'm not sure what shows would come up next. Probably something in Vegas. Volta, I would assume, since it's the newest. Maybe Crystal.
NFL experience? I'm just kidding.
Maybe. I mean, you never know. No. You never know.
It's too early to get into that.
Yeah. I mean, they are expanding into all sorts of different things, which, yes, we'll get into a little bit later.
We'll get into it.
Volta, probably Crystal. I doubt Corteo if they ever launch it into Arena. Maybe Kuza. I don't know.
I would imagine Kuza with the announcements.
Kuza will be a nice one.
Yeah, I'd imagine Kuza with the announcements they're doing and the promotions they're doing for that. I would imagine VR would be something they'd probably dive into with that.
I would like to see a Love one. That would be cool.
Oh, yes.
Love.
A Love one would really fit that everywhere you look, there's something going on. So perfect.
Well, for a very immersive show, definitely.
Which is why the
especially
Lucia one fits so well.
Especially if they highlight for Love the new stuff that they added, all the new.
And that would be the reason to do it.
Yeah. Because I'd love to see all of that. I've been on a Beatles kick the last week and a half, as Jose can attest.
Nice.
He definitely has.
Yes.
Maybe it's time to go watch Love.
I'd love to.
No pun intended.
No pun intended. Or maybe pun intended. Who cares?
All right, and for a little bit of sad news, I don't think we've actually talked about it, but everyone, or at least everyone should know, that La Nouba is closing on December 31st. And so, Richard, really quick, how do you feel about that?
I feel sad about it. I actually listened to the soundtrack again today, and there's just some beautiful music that comes out of that show, and there are some beautiful imagery that comes out of that show, and some of it isn't there anymore, which kind of leads to my feeling that maybe the show is ready to retire. I mean, it has been going for a long time. It was my introduction to Cirque du Soleil. Love the show. I've seen it probably, well, at least more than a dozen times, probably 24 times at this point. And yeah, I love the show. I hate to see any show of that caliber retire. But if they're not going to, re-add the elements that they've taken away, and continue to plus the show, then maybe it's time to go and come with something new. So I feel bad, but at the same time, I'm looking forward to seeing what they do new. Depends on what they do.
What about you, Ian? How do you feel about that?
Oh, I definitely am sad because it's close to home. I live there. I mean, I do agree with Richard on the fact that it lost a lot of its. Cirque seemed to step away. I showed my friend some of the programs the other day from the shows, and he said, "Why is it all colorful now? Why are all the shows colorful now?" And that was Cirque trying to brighten it. And I think with that, it lost some of its mystery that came with the shows. And that makes it makes it time. I think La Nouba is a good wine. It's time to drink it and say goodbye to it. And they're slowly falling apart too. Not falling apart, not like the show's collapsing, but they're taking away elements one by one. Acts are slowly kind of walking. We got, I believe, Selawayne's leaving next month, or whatever month it is when this airs. So should be. Maybe this month, and it's slowly. They said they might put audio tracks in, so it's slowly. It needs too much patching, but I'm excited to see what's happening next.
And you, Dario, what about you? Because you actually got to see La Nouba last year. Well, that was the first episode, actually.
Yeah, see, it'll always hold a special place in my heart just because it was I met Ian for the first time. They really embraced us there. At first you can kind of tell they were like, who are these dorks? But by the end of the night, they loved us. They even invited us to stay to see the show, for a second time that night on them. And they gave us the best seats in the house. And I love that show. It was one of my favorites for a while, but yeah, I don't know. I'm just so ADD. It's just the saddest part for me about the show leaving is the tent. The structure goes with it, because that to me is a very proud moment. Even though it existed way before I cared about it, it's wow, that's cool. And being in there and being able to go up in it and seeing how big and amazing it is, I just love it. That little area is just completely changing. Everything is gone. Everything is on its way out. It's just sad.
Do we know that the structure's going? I haven't heard anything about the structure going.
I mean, the structure won't be going, but it won't be the only freestanding tent, anymore, because they'll do something else with it. It won't be a tent. It'll be a big icicle.
No. Giant mouse ears,
Yes, but it won't be that, because that was really cool to have. But the show itself, yeah, it's a great show, great music. That's why the DVD exists, and thank you, DVD, for being recorded when you were, because it is perfect, and I wouldn't change a thing about that DVD, and that's one of the only ones from the early set that I wouldn't change. So
just turn down the brightness a little bit.
A little bit at times, but it makes me. I mean, it's such a period piece, at that point that it feels right. It feels like the lighting and the quality. I love that DVD.
Well,
so
isn't it amazing that a show like that, that was built in the 90s for the 90s, came into the 2000s, rocked through that, rocked all the way to now, and is still relevant today. It's still a great show as a whole. It's still a great show, and it's lasted that long. It's incredible, and I don't know if Cirque.
But I wonder if most of that is nostalgia. I mean, because we're all talking about this was a great show when it first opened, and yes, I agree with you guys. The show is changing. It's gonna be sad for me because every time I went to Orlando for Disney World, I had to see La Nouba. It was a tradition of mine. I have a friend who lives in Orlando, and every time I would visit, we had to see La Nouba, And so, yeah, it's going to be sad. I mean, even if there's another show, it won't be La Nouba. But ever since, I mean, when they removed the German wheel and then we had Jump Rope, right? Well, that was the first replacement act. I wasn't too convinced, and I understand that these shows have to go through changes. They have to keep, or try to keep it fresh. But see, I like my shows to be like they were when I first saw them. So, and sure, the Vegas shows they have to go through a lot of changes as well. But I feel like that's different for me. Like a touring show, I wanted to stay the same. La Nouba, I wanted it to stay the same. I mean, yeah, like Richard said, the music is amazing. And they also had amazing singers throughout the years, and
and musicians.
Mostly, yeah, and musicians. But yeah, I mean, it's sad. I mean, like Ian mentioned, Salon is leaving. I'm sure you'll have other artists leaving. So we'll see the last show, and I know it won't be. I'm hoping it will, but I know it may not necessarily be a great show. But I'm not wanting to see it because of that. It's sort of like saying goodbye to the show. And then,
the
we'll just have to see what's next. Yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
Well,
this is an important one to be at. I would have loved to go on to the closing of Paramore, but that didn't feel important. This feels important, even though it may not be the same show. It feels important to me.
Yeah, and I mean, it had a big effect on all four of us. I think that's what we can all agree on, is that each of us had a huge moment with it, and it's going to be sad to say goodbye to. It's like an old friend.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think, like I said on another episode, I mean, I watched them build that building, and then moved to Orlando and was there before it opened and watched it open. And then, although I didn't get to see it for 6 months afterwards, I was down at downtown Disney, every weekend, and so I would just browse through the store and pick up something and go on my way. And, it became a staple. So to see that show, to close, I mean, yeah, it is emotional. And I think that final show, even if you don't go and say the show is good, it is going to be an emotional moment. And I wish I could be there with you guys, because I really would love to. Unfortunately, not in the cards.
Yeah, next show closing.
I always say
okay, probably not the next one. Actually, we know what the next show closing is, but
it won't be on that one either, probably.
Yeah.
Which is sad, because to segue to Varekai, I mean, Varekai for me was my first premiere in Montreal, and it came just a couple of months after I launched Fascination. So I was really, interested in covering the show for people who won't get a chance to see it for months. Went up there, had this great experience, which Jose finally had for Lucia. And, and to be told that the show that I saw on premiere is now going to close, I mean, that's also emotional. It is sad. And so we kind of got a double whammy this year.
Yeah, so Rich was talking about the closing of Varekai, which will officially close on December 23rd in, oh my God, I forget the city. Sugarland, yeah, which is outside of Houston. And see, that's a sad one for me because that was my first Cirque du Soleil show. It's the show that helped me discover and get obsessed with this company. And I saw it here in the Big Top in Austin back in 2005. So it was 3 years after it premiered. I had no idea what Cirque du Soleil was. And then I see this commercial on TV and I'm like, what is that? And I had to go see it. I saw it twice here in Austin. A month later, they left. They went to Baltimore, and I traveled to go see it in Baltimore. And then a few months after that, I went to go see La Nouba, which was my second Cirque du Soleil show. And then I went over to Miami, that same trip, and saw Varekai. So Varekai was my favorite show for a lot of years. And the only reason why it's no longer my favorite show is because right before the show went to Arena, a lot of it changed.
Gutted.
Right, and it's one of those things. Again, it's not La Nouba, like it's not the original La Nouba, and I'm still gonna go see the last show. Varekai, same thing. It's here in Texas, so why wouldn't I? So I'm definitely gonna go see the last show. It's going to be very, very sad. Hopefully, I won't cry, but who knows? I mean, yeah, that's a special one for me, and that one's gonna hurt.
It's strange because you can look at Varekai too in contrast, but I would almost say they changed more than they did in La Nouba. I mean, well, first of all, Arena obviously, but like look at the costume changes. I mean, that is just like day and night from what they started as, and their branding's changed. A whole lot has changed in that show. Now, do you think that's why it's going so early in its life, or why it hasn't
early?
Well,
it was the next one.
Yeah, but look at La Nouba. I mean, La Nouba. I mean,
99.
Different shows.
True, but still,
I say anything over 15 years, and it's not going to be fresh really ever again. And after that, every year is a blessing. So after 15 years, if you can hit 15 years, you're good. Not that many. I mean, I don't know. That's just.
But also, you can't really compare Varekai, a touring show, with La Nouba, which was a resident show at Walt Disney World, one of the most visited.
True. You'll always have traffic and ticket sales. I get it. Yeah.
It was the second place that Cirque decided to put up a residency. That was a very smart move, especially back in the late 90s. Very smart move. But that whole area is completely different now, so it doesn't even matter.
Yeah, Disney Springs has changed completely, but I'm sure I'm sure with Varekai too, like they're seeing a change in their audiences, just as La Nouba is probably seeing a change in their audiences as well.
Well, I think when I've talked to some people who are on tour, they were really shocked at the announcement, because I think they figured they would probably go to China, that they would tour over there. And they were really shocked that that announcement came that, okay, we're going to go ahead and close the show. We're going to hop to the United States for a few, 5-6 dates, and then we'll go ahead and close it. I think when I heard they were coming to the United States, I'm like, oh, good. Okay. They're going to do what Kuza did. They're going to come over here for about a dozen or so cities, and then they're going to hop over to China or something like that. I don't disagree with Dario. I think probably after 15 years or so, it's probably time to call it quits. And I think you see that in the pattern. Alegria, Saltimbanco, those were a little bit different. Quidam was a little bit different. But I think if you look at the tour itineraries of those shows, once they hit Arena, you get about 5 years maximum. 6 if you're lucky, but it's about 5 years maximum. And a lot of them now are turning over at the 10-year mark. I mean, Tralian did it, and then it had 5 years, and it's done. So, I mean, unfortunately, it's Varekai's turn. You've got Corteo kind of waiting in the wings, whether or not they actually pulled that together. And now you've got Crystal/Quartz, doing its new Arena thing. And we'll talk about that later as well. But, and then who knows what's next? I mean, I think if you look at it, I think Kuza's tour of China, I think that's going to be its swan song. I think that's probably going to be it. And then they're either going to close it or they're going to turn it into Arena. I would have bet they would turn it to Arena.
Carefully. You might break Jose.
That's coming.
Yeah, that's a little shocking to hear those words out loud, though, because I don't feel that one's anywhere near Arena ready.
But it's hit 10 years. Kuza premiered in 2007. It's already
hit 10 years, so it's got 5. Oh, shit, you're right, though. Oh, no.
Yeah. I mean, it's got life to it as long as they can find markets. China's probably the last market it's got left, and it's now going to tour over there, so it'll probably hit up, 2018, and then.
But then but these shows, these Arena, Dralion, and maybe Ovo, like they make money, right? Like
they do, yeah.
So.
And that was the other thing about Varekai was like, our audiences are, our arenas are full. We're making money hand over fist. Why are you closing the show? Probably because they've got more things coming, and they need the tour space. They need yeah.
Well, so it's kind of maybe like a rebranding issue type of thing. Old Cirque, just over the top, batshit crazy costumes and makeup. And now the newer Cirque, if you look at Volta or Lucia, it's
subtle. It's a little bit more.
It's so more pulled back,
yeah.
And I love that. I do. I like that. I love the old Cirque and that, but then it feels old too. It feels weird to see that. That's why, the new clowns.
You're liking more the human factor.
Yeah, the new Cirque clowns aren't even clowns, dude. They just dress normal and they're funny. It's like I love that. Get rid of the nose and the white face paint. It's a great thing.
But again, what you're talking about is what made Cirque du Soleil Cirque du Soleil.
It's what made them, and who was a part of that is now not a part of that. Someone else has it, and they're like, okay, maybe that's not the image we want people to see of these crazy weird creatures. Because trust me, dude, I've taken 10, 12 different people to Lucia, and they all told me, and all these people saw Varekai. They said night and day. Varekai was boring, over the top, shoved down your throat. Doesn't matter.
It was Arena. It's not the original Varekai.
They didn't like the costumes.
It does. It really does, because Varekai was an amazing show when it was under the big top. I mean, you can ask Ian. You can ask Richard.
I've seen the DVD. It's great. But the live experience, it didn't matter. People just weren't into it. It was too much to take. Then you got Lucia, a heavily themed show that people just ate it up. They loved every second of it.
But I even have yet to like an arena show. I have not liked a single arena show.
I thought Ovo was great in the arena because
that's the only show that didn't work in big top and works in arena.
Yeah, because it's a kid friendly, family friendly, almost borderline taking your kids out to see, I don't know, whatever kid popular show right now.
Well, see, and that just proves that some shows don't work in big top and work in arena, and vice versa. Some that work in arena don't necessarily work in big top. So
I don't think a music show would work great in a big top, but they work fine, in my opinion, in arena because it's a music show.
Well, I see where you're coming. I mean, I don't mind the whole human factor. I mean, really, kind of, we got it with Corteo, anyways. A few years before. Lucia and Volta now. But I just feel like, and we'll get into it in a little bit, I just feel like, okay, I understand what Cirque is trying to do, and I've been optimistic about it. I'm open-minded and sure, bring it on, and eventually we'll get used to it. Most of us will, maybe some won't. However, my thing is like, I fell in love with a circus company. I did not fall in love with an entertainment company. And sure, I understand you want to do all these other projects. However, don't take away what I fell in love with, which was those shows.
It's new Coke. It literally is new Coke. Is how I feel about the new Cirque. To me, it's new Coke. And
but what's the outcome of new Coke? It went away. Normal Coke came back, and everyone was happy. So,
well, I have my fingers crossed. There's that optimism there.
Look, the only thing I know that life has ever proven to me is that the future is just change. No matter what, if you want it or not, it changes. And I fell in love with Amaluna, so I'm kind of in the middle of old and new Cirque. I just like them growing and not pigeonholing. They might do a throwback show. Who knows? But right now they're focusing on this, and I think the closing of two shows like La Nouba and Varekai, heavily themed, crazy costumes, makeups, it's a good thing for Cirque.
And this was a philosophical moment with Dario.
And this is coming from someone that doesn't like where Volta's going, but that's okay because that's a step in the right direction. Even if it's a misstep, it's hard to swallow, but I
wait. So
that it's there.
let's go back a little bit. We won't get into it because this will turn into an argument. But now
No.
you're saying that Volta is the right direction.
I've always said it was a step in the right direction. It was just a complete misguided step. It's just it had the right intentions. It just fell flat. But nevertheless, that's the right step. And you can't have that and Volta. You can't have Volta and like La Nouba exist in the same world. I don't know. I feel like New Cirque wants to be New Cirque, and to do that. Now, where's the line? Astaire, call, like, I don't know. Don't look at me. I'm just saying. It's nice to see them say, hey, these are important, but if we're making shows like Volta, well, we're not thinking about you. We're not thinking about me. We're thinking about the future. So step in the right direction.
So let's talk about the future then. Let's segue into the big announcement that came earlier in the week that Cirque acquired Blue Man Group. So do you think this is a step in the right direction? All right, well, before you answer that, for those who don't know, last week, of course, this is the first week of July or second week of July, but last week on the 6th, I believe, Cirque dropped this bombshell. Apparently, it was been in the works for months. They were talking to Cirque du Soleil, the Blue Man Group people. Thanks to Fosun, they decided to get the two together. But in either case, talking about it for months, Cirque buys Blue Man Group for about $66 million. And now Blue Man Group is part of Cirque du Soleil. They say they will not, they will continue to keep them separate, so there will not be Cirque branding on it, but they are part of the Cirque corporate structure, which is now changing. Now that we know this, do you feel that that is a step in the right direction?
What is wrong with that? It's like, okay, this might be a really bad analogy, but it's like, well, Superman's badass, well, Batman's badass, well, let's make a verse Superman movie. It's like when you have two things.
And that was horrible.
To you watch movies. I watch films. I thought it was a great film. A little bit smarter than most people's take on what a superhero movie is, and I like that. Anyway,
I
boring
fell asleep.
Well, you fell asleep during COD too, so there you have it. You don't like action. What
COD's like the sangria of like the $7 sangria of the wines.
Well, think about it. If anything, Lusa should have put me to sleep because it's slower than say COD. And
I love the idea of Cirque stepping up and saying, okay, here's an older product that's been around for a while. Because I remember that crap when I was a kid. And it's tested, man. It's tried and true. What can we do with that? They're good.
Okay.
They're good visionaries. What could they do?
Let me ask you something, because you just said this is an older company, older show, whatever.
Yeah, they can.
So why can't the same? So, but you're saying that the old shows cannot basically. What was
old
the word you
Cirque shows.
So what's the difference with Blue Man Group? I mean, Blue Man Group can seem
guys in
outdated as well.
Blue makeup. It's like the first images you learn as a baby is like these basic blob images. Anyone can adapt to that. The Cirque crazy costumes and stuff.
Well, kids see clowns. I mean, why can't?
But that's the thing. But think about it now. They don't even have a Ringling Brothers anymore, dude. That type of clown, that type of thing is yesterday. But man wearing blue makeup is in.
Dude,
because it's just such a basic, easy, doesn't matter like if you're 2 or if you're 50, that's a dude in blue makeup and you get it right away. Like what the hell is that thing with the big broken thing on its head and it's sideways and it's walking backwards? Like,
so you think that Cirque du Soleil and Blue Man Group do mix?
I think they should not. I think they should stick to what they said. They should keep their branding and crap off of it, but they should definitely put their fingers in that pie and say, "Oh, okay."
All right, American Pie.
I'm serious.
Nice analogy.
For 2 seconds,
I thought you liked films, not movies.
For 2 seconds, I said, "That's so," and then it clicked, and I said, "Freaking genius."
Oh, we knew Darren was going to like it.
Dude, they're associating themselves with brands that aren't that have a fan base, and that
this is my problem. This is my problem, and I told Richard earlier. Cirque du Soleil, it's a creative company. Fine, you can do all your business all you want. I understand. Maybe this is a directive, like Richard said, from TPG, right? That's the parent company.
Right.
you know, and again, and I've said it before. We've all said it before. Cirque du Soleil is a business, and they're here to make money. However, they are a creative company. They've had all these shows, and they're successful because of all these shows that they've made. To me, it just seems cheap to just go and buy a company and then say like, okay, this is now under our umbrella, and then we're gonna keep it separate. Like, to me, it would have just made more sense if TPG bought, you know, Blue Man Group instead of Cirque du Soleil, because to me they just don't mix. They're two completely different shows, and you know, while I've seen Blue Man Group and it's okay, I just don't associate it with Cirque du Soleil.
Ian, what were you a fan of before you were a fan of Cirque? Didn't you like Blue Man Group first?
That doesn't mean that you can't. I mean, if you like Blue Man Group, that doesn't mean you can't like Cirque.
They came in at the same time for me.
Okay.
And with Blue Man Group, I had known about it and seen videos of it before Cirque. But so I started out both as a hardcore Cirque fan and as a hardcore Blue Man Group fan. I used to be a member of the Blue Man Library, a huge fan community. There's a lot of members on there. There's Switchback Podcast, which was a huge Blue Man Group podcast that I listened to all the time. And, you know, I followed them really hardcore. And for me, at that time, if you had asked me, I would have said, you know, as a naive little kid, I would have said I would love for Cirque to acquire Blue Man Group. Not acquire, I wouldn't have known that phrasing, but I would have said I would love them to make a Cirque du Soleil Blue Man Group show. I probably wrote that on like a 5th grade paper somewhere. I'm sure it's somewhere in my files. However, now that I've seen this, now that I see what's going on and how TPG is functioning, I know the politics behind TPG and what they're doing, and I don't want to slam anyone, but I do have hard feelings about this because I do feel a little bit personally attacked by this, if I could just say. As a fan of both, I feel like Cirque has no business touching that. And it really is. But also I love the original years of Cirque. I'm not about the new Cirque and the new stuff. And also I gotta ask you, Dario, too, like, what is a step too far though? Like, if Cirque du Soleil acquired Coca-Cola and did a show, The Taste of Coca-Cola. I mean, we've heard rumors on Inside the Magic that La Nouba might be a Disney. Now this is just rumors, but a Disney cartoon show based on the animations, the ideas of animation with Disney. I mean, what is a step too far with Cirque, you know, taking brands and creating them? If Cirque takes Disney IP, like everyone is saying, you know, and then they do, I mean, what's next? Coca-Cola du Soleil?
Hey, you can't break down barriers if you don't just try. There's a million other things they could have bought that would have been worse, that would have made less sense.
They're still not done.
It probably is a little insulting, and it might be a little weird, but I think if there's anyone that's going to handle it right, because I see a brand that's still around. I go to Vegas, I go, holy shit, that's still here. That's cool. That is really cool. That is important. Branding is important. When is it a step too far? I'll let you know when it happens. But until that day, I'm not going to – the sky's the limit, dude. You cannot be inventive and create, and you have to stumble, and you have to learn your lessons. And who knows where this is going, but it's a brave idea. And remember, Cirque is already owned by a company that owns companies. So –
well, they are now, and I think that's part of the argument, is that you have a company that was standalone for a long time. They're a creative company. They created their own thing. You've got Blue Man Group over here, and now they are a part of this creative company. That part is a little crazy for me because I do like Blue Man Group. I've seen them in New York. I've seen them in Vegas. I'm not a fan of Blue Man Group like I am a fan of Cirque du Soleil. I've seen them a couple of times. I like what I've seen. I don't know how that would translate elsewhere, but that's part of the reason they are now with Cirque du Soleil. They want to go to China, and they feel that Cirque du Soleil can help them get there. That's great.
I can see why Blue Man Group would jump on that. I don't understand why Cirque would jump on that.
Because Cirque is new Cirque.
Well, but see, that's part of the problem for, I think, Jose, people like me. You know, I followed Cirque du Soleil for a long time. Now, you've come in, you're relatively new.
Under 5 years. Under
Yeah.
5 years.
So you know the new Cirque. There's nothing wrong with the new Cirque, just like there's nothing wrong with the old Cirque. But when the identity of a company changes so much that you can't recognize what it was anymore, that's what I think Jose is getting at. That's what people like me get at. It's
nailed
not
it.
necessarily that we pine for the old, because, well, maybe some of us do, and we would like to see the old. When things like La Nouba close or Varekai close. Now, Varekai is a little bit of a different case because it's later than La Nouba.
Mm-hmm.
But when something like that closes, like if Mystère would close someday, and I'm sure it will be a very sad day. That's old Cirque now, finally going away, to be replaced with things like the NFL experience, which these are things that they're looking to expand, maybe not with NFL, but maybe with NHL, maybe with the soccer league, maybe with tennis, I don't know. But they're looking to expand these type of experiences. Crystal, which we've mentioned and we'll probably get into later, but that's also one of these types of things. They're trying to get into this Cirque on Ice type of production. So that's another one of these new experiences that they are tied with purchasing Blue Man Group that they are trying to get into. Paramore was probably another one of those experiences, and I want to circle back around to that one. So, it's not that we really necessarily want to see the same show from Cirque du Soleil, but we do want to see that same human experience, that same caliber of show, and some of us just aren't getting it out of this. So I do want to ask Dario now, because Ian said, what's a step too far? Cirque du Soleil wants to get into Broadway. They tried New York with Banana Spiel. They tried with Windtuck. They tried with Arcana, right? Not quite working. Paramore, better. Just didn't work out. That's okay. How would you feel a Cirque as a company and a brand identity buying the company that produces Phantom of the Opera and Cats, or the company that produces Les Mis, and brings that into the Cirque banner? That's not Cirque du Soleil. That's something totally different. But now they would own it. Is that something that you would feel comfortable with? And then what's the next step after that? Because remember, Cirque has got a theme park coming. They've got a resort with Vedanta coming. They were expanding.
Oh, I know. Trust me. I am.
So some of these things are intriguing. They're interesting, and certainly we're open to them. But now you got all this other stuff, and it's no longer Cirque du Soleil. And that's what Ian is saying. That's what Jose is saying. It's not.
Well, where's the
Cirque
new
du Soleil anymore.
But where's the line? Because I consider Lucia a brand new show, and it is one of the most important, beautiful pieces of work I've ever seen in my entire life.
And it's a Cirque du Soleil themed show.
I think it's because, I think the difference is, and because we all found out about Cirque du Soleil sort of earlier than Dario, and that's why Dario. I don't think Dario really understands what Cirque du Soleil was. He understands what Cirque du Soleil is and wants to be now. And I think that's why we always have this sort of a difference in opinion when it comes to the direction that Cirque du Soleil is going. But really quick, Dario mentioned that branding is important, and yes, I agree with that. And Cirque du Soleil now is this world-renowned, entertainment company, but they're still their main focus is a circus or Cirque du Soleil, what they will call a circus for now. However, the problem with this, with you saying,
go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say that branding is important, but it just feels like they're diluting the brand so much. Like you said, they're losing their identity. No. This is the thing. If you have a 45 degrees, for whatever reason, they made 45 degrees. And I guess I understand why they made it. So they can go ahead and explore all these different avenues. Right. And the problem is that they're not really using the 45 degrees brand. They're using Cirque du Soleil, even though it's 45 degrees. And that I think that's mostly my problem. They're not keeping them separately. Now they're saying, okay, this is going to be a 45 degrees, but it's a Cirque du Soleil show. And it isn't. It's not, because it doesn't have the same quality that, a Cirque du Soleil show would have or would have back in the day. So we're also losing that. We're losing the quality of the shows. We're losing the branding. And now it's just becoming this company that owns all this other different types of entertainment, either shows or companies or whatever. So really, they're diluting the brand. Cirque du Soleil will not be the same name anymore, the same company anymore.
Dario, you said where's the line earlier, You know, where's the line? And I think that's my problem is I can't see the line because it's so blurred out amongst all these different properties and ideas that Cirque has out there, is that I don't see the line anymore. I don't see that original mold that was there. It's now just become so diluted that it's like,
no, but you guys, I don't get it, because you all love the idea of Volta. That's a Cirque show. Now, the NFL Experience is called the NFL Experience powered by Cirque. Okay? That's the difference right there. And my opinion, that's the difference right there, is when Cirque, doesn't matter if they're putting their name on something that doesn't belong, they know to put it at the very end. Like if you look at Jose's Taruk poster, it doesn't say Cirque till the very last thing. It says,
well, that was the difference.
Avatar,
that was different
matter.
because
that's the first
because
step.
that's a licensed show, pretty much.
And that was the first step of branding, my friend. And it started out to work good, because guess what? Their merch and their ticket sales were in like the top 10 touring shows for the last year and a half or something stupid. That's great news for Cirque. Of course, they're going to take that idea and go, oh, what else? But as long as Cirque keeps the Cirque stuff powerful, we'll be fine. I don't think they're ever going to put their name on the Blue Man Group. Blue Man Group presented to you by Cirque. They won't do that, so it doesn't affect you guys as Cirque fans.
So how does it affect you that you like the idea? What do you think will be different?
Because it gives my company that I love so much longevity. They can do their little Cirque thing forever now, but they have this big-ass name, Light Coke, that people don't give a shit what it tastes like. They know Coke is important. Ha-ha! Boom. Same with Cirque. They don't give a shit what it is. They know it's important. It's like a stamp of approval. And
until your company loses its value because they just dilute it too much.
To who?
Well, who made Cirque du Soleil what is Cirque du Soleil?
Well, that person is the one who gave his blessing. Now, if it was so damn important to him, he would have said, I've got my money.
I mean, literally, G. Bird.
Okay, but you know what I mean?
Who go see the show.
I'm just saying, if it was that important to the guy who created it.
He doesn't care. He sold it for $2 billion. So.
When if he wants to stay pure.
Right, well, 10% of the time, that's right.
I'm sure he's thinking about it in his jet.
I'm sorry, I just like the idea of Cirque doing brave, bold, maybe stupid, but brave, bold, and stupid, you know?
Disney like brave? It. Disney's brave?
Sure, why not?
New Cirque.
Hey, dude, like you said, though, you nailed it. Jose, I came in on Amaluna, right? And that's what made me go, holy crap. And then Zarkana was the one that made me go, holy crap. So I'm already, like, don't even listen to anything that comes out of my mouth. I'm persona non grata, okay? I'm just here for, like, garnish on the plate.
Well, no, that doesn't make you
I'm telling you.
less of a fan.
It's actually a different perspective that we can't acquire.
Right, exactly. We're just saying that you don't feel the way you feel because you didn't know the company when it was really just Cirque du Soleil. You knew it when it was sort of changing, the shows were changing, and that's fine. If that's what calls you, that's fine. However, in my opinion, this is really diluting the brand because it's no longer, Cirque du Soleil is no longer a circus. It won't be Circus of the Sun. It's just a company that happened to be named Circus of the Sun that owns all these different shows and types of entertainment.
You knew it was coming since day one. We didn't know the extent of it. But so far, have they stumbled? Has it been?
According to you, Volta. According to you, Volta, we only last 1 year.
To me, there's 4 of us in this group, and 3
Paramore?
Excited. Yeah, but I thought Paramore was a fantastic show.
Well, there's a lot of people who thought Banana Spiel was a fantastic show, but the majority of people thought that was just
a lot more people saw Paramore. You know, it made a lot more money.
Perhaps.
It made some money for a minute. I don't know. I'm just saying. You
stumbled with Viva Elvis. You stumbled with Zarkana. I know that's the show you love, but it isn't performing.
Yeah, but it stumbles.
It's gone.
I am okay with that. But, you know, call Ovo a stumble.
You can call Ovo a stumble.
Call Corteo a stumble. I don't know. I just know that when I hear the word that Cirque is big and almighty, and they're brave, and they're not afraid to say, yeah, we have no business dealing with the NFL, but guess what? There's got to be something there. There has to be. They're not going to jump into it completely blind. There has to be a pitch, a reason.
But is it brave though? Really, is it really brave that they're going to?
I feel it's a cop out.
Or
I don't know. Cop out's not the right word. Cash grab cop out, and why? Yeah. But why? Why
they need the money?
But how?
Because it's all about the money. Yeah, like
at the end of the day, it's all money.
They're not creating anymore. That's my problem. They're not.
Well, I wouldn't say that either.
Company. Well, what I'm saying is that they're not. Well, with these things that I'm talking about, with the whole acquiring other companies, they're really not creating when you think about it. Or with the NFL, sure, they're doing some sort of. Are they doing a show or like a show or something like that? After all,
I've heard with all the multimedia stuff. So a lot of the things that are in 45 degrees, and I think I mentioned this to you guys earlier today, where we weren't quite sure where the NFL experience is going to land on the Cirque spectrum, and the Cirque branding was removed, and today I noticed that it's got 45 degrees on it, so it's kind of moved under their banner. So, and a lot of what they do in the 45 degrees show is some of the multimedia stuff.
And again, I wouldn't have a problem with a show being by 45 or made by 45 degrees by Cirque du Soleil. There's a difference there, because now you're saying this isn't the main company. This isn't like what used to be like their forte, which were the shows. But now you're saying, okay, this is under the umbrella of Cirque du Soleil, but it's not necessarily Cirque du Soleil. So you would expect something different.
Well, that's the whole reason why that's the whole reason why they had this label Cirque du Soleil Theatrical, because they are doing theatrical productions. Why they have Cirque du Soleil Media, because they're doing TV productions.
They need a presence.
Do you think they need to be on TV? Do you think they need to be doing this TV show?
I think it cheapens the presence.
They need to have a presence in New York. That's an obvious.
Oh, I agree with you. New York doesn't seem to agree with you.
But it needs. That's what they're doing now. Now they're
Now they're buying their presence.
Well, you know what?
They're shooting bullets into the blank.
Exactly, and that's okay. Grasping at straws is fine sometimes.
Bullets into
Not if you're in the military, if you shoot all your bullets out.
Well, I don't know.
You're gonna be out of ammo eventually, and just.
Well, how about this? Speaking of New York, do you think that they should keep trying to to be successful in New York?
I do.
Well, I agree with Dario on that. I think they should continue to try for New York. Eventually, they'll hit the right note.
But do you think it should be original content, or
I think it should be something? I don't know that it should have been like The Wiz, for example. I mean, I'm sure that was great. I never saw it, but I don't think that it should have been that property. Paramore, I think, is what they wanted to go for, and they did it, and it worked out okay. If it was a little bit more lucrative, maybe in a smaller theater, it would have been a little bit better for them. But that's a whole cutthroat kind of a thing up there, and I don't think Cirque was really prepared for that. But I don't know that I want to see them buy into a theater group, which means they would own the theaters. I don't know that I would like to see them buy into a production company that is already producing shows. And so now shows that, and I mentioned it earlier, Phantom of the Opera, Cats. And the reason I mention those is because those are really big. Those are iconic. Those are things associated with somebody else. And now that stuff comes here. On the flip side of that, and this might be hypocritical of me, and I mentioned this to Jose earlier, I don't have a problem with Disney buying Marvel. I don't have a problem with Disney buying Pixar. I don't have a problem with Disney buying Lucasfilm for some reason. But on this, for some reason, I have a problem with it. And I can't explain it.
It just seems odd. I don't know.
Well, yeah, it does seem odd.
To me, I see those big, and it probably isn't this, but because it's something that's so close to my heart, to me, I see this big, greedy corporate person counting dollar bills going, who are we going to acquire today so we can sell off Cirque? That's what I see.
I think the reason it bothers me is that they really want to, and it's one of the quotes that I saw in an article about the sale for Blue Man Group, or the purchase of Blue Man Group, is that they're really hardcore on getting away from circus, moving into full entertainment. So this probably means, of course, the theme park and the resorts from Vedanta, the creative stuff, the NFL experience, which they're going to expand some more. Crystal and doing the whole arena ice show kind of a thing. I mean, who knows what's next after that? I mean, you have Taruk, which is hybrid Cirque, hybrid Marble on ice, Marble live, whatever kind of a type of thing. So they're moving into this way, and I don't feel it, I guess. Why are you smiling at me?
Because you're about to cry.
No, I'm not.
But I get it. I feel you, and I'm the same way. And again, I told you, I've always been optimistic, and I was open minded, and fine. I'm like, I like Taruk, and I love Paramore. Oh, one thing about
I know where
Paramore.
I was going with that.
Well,
Sorry
get
about
back
that.
into it before you forget.
Oh, so the article was like, and I think this is what it bothers me, is that they want to accelerate this buying. They've got a whole list now of possible future purchases to help them get away from. And I think it's that terminology that they want to get away from that whole circus past and move into this entertainment thing. And they want to do it quickly. And a lot of it, I'm sure, there are some creative elements to it. As I said earlier, I love Blue Man Group. Not love. I like them. I've seen them. They're quirky. They do a lot of good stuff. We've already established that they're going to keep it separate, or at least that's their plan. I just don't know why they would need to add them into their portfolio. Now they're creating a portfolio. They're not just themselves, with CDs and DVDs and books and stuff about themselves. Now they're Cirque du Soleil. Now they're Blue Man Group. The whole corporate structure is changing. It is becoming more corporate, more financially driven, and away from the core creative identity.
Would you rather it just disappear and die? Or is it
No.
okay to find a new life as long as there's still something there for us?
I think they could have survived with the road they were on, the road that they were going with the original shows.
See, that's part of my conundrum is, you have said that you're and I hate to call you a hypocrite, but that you ADD and that you go back and forth and that you say certain things and that on another case you mean other things. And I totally get that because, on one hand, you don't want something like Cirque du Soleil to die or Blue Man Group to die. And if they can come together and they can continue to function, maybe that would be better. Maybe not. I don't know. Yeah, I want to see Cirque du Soleil continue to innovate. I think with 45 Degrees, there are some things that they do in those shows that you'll see come into the core Cirque shows. There's some projection stuff that started out in 45 Degrees and that you see as part of the C-Lab stuff that you see in Volta and that you see in Lucia. So, they are innovating. So that kind of stuff I don't mind. So, but it goes back to, they want to push that away and they want to go into this direction. I don't know if it's just too much.
It's like they just want to be called Du Soleil. No Cirque.
Entertainment Du Soleil.
I hat to them that they want to expand themselves and that they want to get into other things.
Quick, but, Jose, buy entertainmentdusoleil.com real quick.
But I don't know. The other thing I said to Jose was, you had companies in the 70s and the 80s. You had like a food company that Coca-Cola is a great example, that they bought Columbia TriStar Pictures or bought Columbia Pictures and bought TriStar Pictures and merged them together. And I'm probably getting some details mixed up. They would buy this company and that company. Coca-Cola makes beverages. They don't make movies. But yet companies like that in the 70s and 80s would diversify because somebody told them that was a really great idea. And they would go off and they'd buy 5, 10 things that had nothing to do with the business at hand. Car companies and movie companies and movie studios and bookstores. And what does that have to do with Coca-Cola? And that, I feel, is what Cirque du Soleil is doing now.
Football entertainment, Blue Man Group entertainment, Cirque entertainment, old Cirque dead. Old circus is dead. It's gone. It's gone. So why not just let it happen naturally?
That's totally fine, but that doesn't mean we have to stick around.
Yeah, we don't have to stick around, but
you do because you seem to like where they're
because
going.
They created Volta, and you guys are so psyched.
No, again, you don't like a circus company. You like the entertainment company.
No,
so,
I like Cirque. I fell in love with Cirque, but now that they're doing all this new, it's like when you fall in love with the band halfway in their career. Right? You don't give a shit what they do because it's all new to you. You're just excited that they're doing stuff, and you get to go see your favorite band. Now,
even the Beatles broke up, so.
But if you're there from the beginning, oh God, you're definitely not there for the end, and everyone knows that. But that's fine. That's fine. It's called evolving. It's called change, and I'm okay with it. I know I'm contradictory, and I always do.
That's the word I wanted. Contradictory.
But it's how I feel today. It's how I feel today.
No,
and today I feel like Cirque is on the right path, and you cannot be at the top until you've been humbled. And we're waiting for it to happen. It's gonna happen, so we're just waiting. We're waiting.
You can't be at the top if you're walking away from your mountain, you know?
But that's the thing, though. That's the thing. Their mountain.
What is the mountain? Which mountain is it? You know, again, they might think that they're going in the right direction because they're wanting to be something different than what they are now. So
there will always be a circus company, and you know it in your heart of hearts. You know it.
I don't know.
You'll never stop being.
The last time they did this, you know, they were expanding quite heavily. Maybe not nearly as many of avenues as they are now, but that almost caused them to go away completely.
But that was under someone else. That was under a different financial backing and different people who sit around and go, yes, no, yes, no. These people were known to save
These
companies.
were people who started the company. These were people who didn't care necessarily about the money that they were making, and they were putting the money as much as they needed into creating these things, and they just overstepped their bounds. From my perspective, or a fan's perspective, looking outside in, okay? So part of, I think, I would say part of what people like Jose and Ian, when we look at Cirque and we see these things happening, well, we've seen it happen already. And they survived, but all the shows that closed and all the things that they had to do to make sure they survived.
It was a crisis back then.
What year was this? Can I have a year, please?
Like 2000, what was it, 4 or 5? Somewhere in there?
Well, let's see. Probably, I would say 8 and 9, 2008,
Really?
9, somewhere around there.
So 10, almost 10 years now, and you're seeing the same pattern.
Yeah. I'm seeing a company that is trying to expand, and as I said earlier, there's nothing wrong with that. But do they need to do it? Maybe I guess they feel like they need to. Maybe they're being pushed by the people who now own them to, hey, get out there and do this TV show, do this kid show on Netflix, film these shows. We want this stuff out there to be bought. Hey, and that's great. Continue to do that. Go ahead and buy Blue Man Group because we want to get them into China, make them money, make you money. And at the same time, we want to push this theme park concept, which is going. We want to push this relationship with Vedanta. We want to push this relationship with people in China. We really want to capitalize on all of this stuff. We want to do the NFL. We want to do all this stuff with Cirque at Sea, which we haven't even mentioned yet.
Cirque at Sea. We want to.
Well, see, this is the problem, that they're using the Cirque brand, and if one of those things fails, then your brand is not going to be as valuable anymore. As more things fail, you're using the same brand, then you're losing the value. It's losing the value.
People remember Banana Spiel failed. How many people remember Viva Elvis failed? Us.
Every article about Paramore
when
it first came out was they said, well, Cirque du Soleil had been in New York and they failed with this, and Wintuck was only 4 years, and Zarkana came and went. We barely even remember it. When Banana Spiel was here and it failed miserably. Maybe they'll make it with Paramore. So yeah, they mention it. And in fact, Blue Man Group article from Las Vegas, because they have the residency there. And in that article announcing the purchase, Zarkana was mentioned, Viva Elvis was mentioned. Hey, failures. They keep trying, yes. But they don't forget. Media doesn't forget, people don't forget it. It does come in. Your casual fan.
Yes.
Casual fan or casual, and I hate to use the term fan, people who just go when Cirque du Soleil comes and be like, oh, Cirque du Soleil is back. I wonder what it's gonna be. Those people? No, they don't care. People like us.
All right, come on, Mr. freaking host, reel us in. Where are we?
Well, I mean, we're still talking about the new direction that Cirque is going into.
That leads us to Crystal.
Yeah, so basically, we'll talk about Crystal now, which is it's part of that. And you know, Cirque du Soleil announced the show that we all thought was going to be Quartz, and really wasn't. To me, I think they changed the name last minute, but who knows? But yeah, so Quartz is or Crystal, sorry, is the new arena show that is going to be on ice, which reminds me of Disney on Ice, but. But yeah, I mean, I'm sorry. It's only natural to make these sort of.
I've never seen a show on ice that has ever been something that has been as good as what they're making. Yeah, like Disney on Ice, good example, or like Batman on Ice or Spider-Man on Ice. Those are all train wrecks.
Yeah, so hopefully Cirque will innovate that. I mean, and I'm sure that's what Dario was hoping for here. What I was going to say in something that Dario would probably say is that we had not really seen a show like Taruk with all its projection in an arena before that show came out. So perhaps they can do something with ice that is different than we've seen in the past. The other side of that is, am I convinced that's going to happen? I'm not really. But I would love to be pleasantly surprised, and I'm sure I will be pleasantly surprised.
And
I mean, I always take that slightly cynical look at things.
The moment they announced that show, I think we all groaned a little bit, didn't we? Like in our chat group, did we all kind of just go,
I did, but the longer I had to think about it, I go, well, just because it's an ice show doesn't mean there's not going to be a portion of the stage that isn't ice. I mean, it's not going to all be on ice at every second of every moment. They'll do stuff. It will be a show. Ice is just like the Mexican theme in Lucia. It's just there to kind of go, oh, cool, different.
Well, surprisingly, I actually do not hate the idea of Crystal. I may not necessarily like the idea of Cirque du Soleil on Ice, Disney on Ice.
However, say it like that, then.
Well, I'm sorry. It is what it is. You know, you have Disney on Ice, and the comparison.
A Disney sweater as he says that, by the way, folks.
Well, I didn't say that it was a bad thing. Do you like Disney on Ice shows? Okay, if they're for you, go ahead and watch them. However, for the most part, they're for kids. Okay,
maybe you could say like Sesame Street on Ice. Maybe that's a little better.
I mean,
okay.
There's a bunch of potential things here. You got to look at the acts that you can do on ice. You know, because you can't just do, you know, floor acts on ice unless they have like maybe what Dario says, maybe they'll have like a closing stage or something where the stage closes up.
Well, look at the last Ringling Brothers. It was on ice, but they had a long strip and then one ring and then a long strip straight down the middle of it. So all the ice was around, but then they did stationary stuff on their feet. And
so we're taking pointers from a company that fell apart.
Exactly. I wouldn't go.
It's not a pointer. It's not a pointer. It's how the hell do we know that Cirque has
maybe Cirque should have bought them
5 years ago? They heard about it, and that was their last ditch effort to stay relevant. We don't know. It's a good idea because Ian's on to something. Think about all the crap you can do. Look, I don't like to watch the Olympics that often, especially the Winter Olympics, but I do watch when they do the stuff on ice. Because at times, it's batshit crazy and beautiful.
What do they do the Winter Olympics on?
Well, they have, they have snowboard.
Oh, so Volta on ice. You want Volta on ice, but you hate Volta.
I hate Volta. I'm just saying, when I watch those segments and they have the little music and they're dancing along and they're throwing people and flipping and catching them, I go, wow, that's pretty damn cool.
So let me ask you this, Dario. The next 5 shows Cirque releases, say they're all like Volta to you. You know, they're
That's
all
fine.
terrible.
That's okay. You know what? I don't think that every single album of my favorite band was good. You got to have a few duds to know where you're going to grow next.
So
I'm
how
okay
long
with
would you
five.
continue being a fan of that band if you're not liking what they're releasing?
Hey, man, I still listen to shit that I listened to when I was 12. I still listen to it today. I may not
So
like
that
it.
is us with the older shows.
Yeah, but I still listen. They still get my money. I still click on their videos. I still, like, dude, I'll go to concerts. One of the last concerts I went to was a 15-year anniversary. Like, you know, I don't mind that.
But again,
But
how
they're not
much would
doing
you
that.
take?
They're not doing that at Cirque. They're not bringing back those old shows. We don't have
They're
the
not.
ability.
They're
We
not.
can watch
You're
a DVD. We can watch a DVD.
We can
But
watch.
we can't experience a 15th anniversary concert. I mean, we can experience a 30-year
But
anniversary
as a 10-year
concert.
fan, or a 10, or a 15, or a 20-year fan of this company, can't you give them a little bit of leeway? Because
Why?
why? Because you've been around the block. You know that they're capable. They may
Well, we know what we like.
They may eat crow sometimes, but they'll acknowledge the crow. They'll fix the problems like in Paramore. Okay,
Well, but you kind of said it right there. We've been around the block and we've seen them make these steps before. We know that they are a company that wants to innovate and evolve, but we've seen them try to hit the gas and they crashed into a telephone pole.
well, so
We don't want to crash into a telephone pole again.
So they started this whole idea of the theme park. They probably came up with it somewhat off of the basis of the creative thing kind of being a success.
This comes
Not
from
a failure.
Vedanta, really.
Well, I would say this probably started a long time ago because they wanted to do a casino, a Cirque-themed casino, I want to say in 2002 or 3 or 4.
Well, I would have loved that.
And that evolved into trying to do an entertainment complex. So they wanted to do a hotel with a show on site, something like they have with the MGM group, but something that they own. So they'd have to get into hospitality. They'd have to have the real estate. So they'd have to get into real estate. And they vetoed all of that because, well, maybe they decided they didn't have the money or maybe they didn't have the expertise. Now, I know they have TPG behind them. They have the money behind them. But do they have the expertise? I don't know. And yeah, maybe we fans should just step back and let them try it. But I think when you look at it and you go, well, we've seen you make this step before. Don't take such a big step. Maybe do a little smaller step before you go all, in on these types of things.
I look at their worst failure as a huge success compared to some of the other shit this world produces and puts out. So I guess I'm just biased. Even though I can say Volta looks like a piece of shit, I'm okay. I can. I like where Cirque is going. I like this idea. It's very, like you said, can I use the word brave? Probably not, but I'm going to. Just saying, when I commit to something, I commit.
So
Now,
you're still going to like New Kids on the Block shows? And...
well, I never know because I was too young for that thing. God. I
Backstreet's
remember.
back.
But no. See, because when I first
Ragging on Richard today.
when I first started going to concerts, my very first concert was the Melvins and White Zombie, okay? And I still download Rob Zombie's music and listen to it to this day. So I'm just very loyal to what I like. Just because it sucks now, like my family, it's the same way. I love you, but there are years where I hate you, but I still love you.
So let me ask you
That's
something.
where all this comes from, Ben. It's loyalty.
It's
to it,
loyalty to something
which is
that
commendable.
I have to defend every day of my life. Look at this shit. Look, I have this freaking huge hummingbird on my goddamn arm.
Are you defending like Cirque's decision because you really feel like they're going in the right direction, or because you feel like you have to defend them because you have to be loyal?
Dude, go back to the Volta episode and tell me if I have to feel like I.
But now you're changing your tune because now you're
No,
saying
I'm not
that it's in the right
changing my
direction.
tune.
When you were saying it, you said in the last episode it's the wrong direction and you don't like it, and now you're saying that they're going in the right direction. You just don't like Volta.
I said it's the right direction with the wrong heart. It has the right idea with the wrong body and soul and brain. That's what
I get what Dyer's saying. Is like the guts of the show is not like the gears are not turning. Like you got a shell of a show, but the gears are not turning. Basically,
Yeah,
and
the cogs are.
and that's the right direction to you.
You know what? It's a bold ass statement to do something like that. To say, hey, let's put BMX bikes on the stage not once but twice. Let's have the audacity to have an act called BMX and Ballerina. Get the fuck out of here. That is asinine to me. But, wow, holy shit. They're not afraid to embrace whatever they think is cool. If they think the Blue Man Group is cool, sweet. Then I think they're cool.
I'm so confused by your thought process. But
you know me the best, Jose. Why would you even...
I know. And
the wheels are turning, but the hamster's dead is what Dario's saying.
Yeah, the wheels are there. This is just blah, blah, blah. Let them be. Let them do this. It's okay. It's not what we like, but they're still giving us what we like. You like Volta. I like La Nouba. I like Lucia. Curious. I like the new. Jose, you like the new. We all agree that
again, I'm not saying.
So then why be so mean at these decisions when you are totally behind Volta?
This is the difference. Okay, these are all original creations. Okay, except for maybe Taruk, but even then, in a sense, it was an original creation.
They created it.
Right. That's what I'm talking about. I just feel like, why do you need to go and buy all these different
has nothing to do with us and what we love. Who cares what they do with their business as long as they keep their entertainment the same? Okay,
so what guarantees that they'll continue doing this and not focus on just purchasing all these?
Nothing.
Exactly. So why can we not be worried?
But the fact that they have so many grandiose, crazy ideas tells me that they want it to be around.
So those ideas on original content.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
It does matter because I fell in love with a company who was creative and that was original. And that's what I'm saying. So I understand that. Again, I'm one of the people that always say Cirque is a business and we need to understand that. However, it just feels like it's a completely different company. And if they start going into that direction, again, we talked about where do you draw the line? There seems to be no line as of right now. And that's the problem. That's what's worrying.
Back on that crystal subject, because we could dive into Dario's brain all day. We could dive into all of our brains all day. But on crystal, with this change though, why do you think it is that we all groaned at an ice show? Is it because they all suck?
Preconceived notion of what an ice show is.
Because I don't know if I hate crystal yet. I don't know.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm excited at what they can create.
I don't hate crystal at all. I am totally behind the idea.
Right. I don't dislike the idea, and I'm excited to see what they can do, which is different than buying this company that already exists. So if you look at the video, sure, it's not going to be only ice. It looks like there's going to be trapeze. There might be Sir Wheel, which is in every show. Anyways, so again,
that's a good assumption.
We're going to see sort of a show that is a different type of show. However, we'll still see some circus acts, hopefully, and that's what it looks like. So again, I'm not against the idea of Crystal. I'm excited to see what they'll do, and I'll go see it.
They have a show on water. Why can't they have a show on frozen water? What the shit?
No one is arguing against Crystal.
I know.
Let's let Richard talk because he's been trying to say something.
I was going to say I agree with what Jose says, but to answer Ian's question, I think the reason most of us collectively groaned is, well, there are already so many ice shows. Why does Cirque du Soleil need to do an ice show? Well, obviously the answer is because they want to, and perhaps they can, and maybe they see a way to make money out of it. I hate to bring it down to money, but creatively, maybe they'll find something creative to say out of it. But yeah, I think we grown because we go to, there's already Disney on ice, there's Marvel on ice, there's this on ice, there's Sesame Street on ice. There's all these types of ice shows already. Why does there need to be this type of show? It's like some people probably groaned when, they announced Paramore. Why do they need to be on Broadway? Well, they wanted to be. They wanted to try it. Okay, that's great. Paramore was great. I didn't get to see it. Love the CD. But a lot of people groaned because, well, why do they need to do that?
It's interesting. I don't have the same feeling as Crystal with the Blue Man Group thing for sure. For me, Crystal is just another outlet like O was, but at the same time, it's just a lot of stuff happening at once. You know, we're acquiring Blue Man. We've got a show that, let's face it, Crystal has a lackluster name, and that kind of bothers me from a marketing perspective of things. We've got, you know, I saw Curious and was kind of like bleh about it. Lucia was okay. It was good. It wasn't bad. I enjoyed it. It was just another show for me. But, you know, I think I've got a lot of negative sitting on my plate with Cirque. What I've seen from Cirque in the past year or so now, or a little more than a year now, Paramore to me was nothing great, because I was a Broadway fan before that. I had the same feeling with Paramore and Broadway and stuff like that, was that I just thought it wasn't going to work. But now we've got Crystal coming in an ice show, and all the ice shows I've seen were shit. All the other stuff that Cirque has been putting out in the last few years to me has just been okay. And if we've got Crystal coming in and, you know, they're just coming in with an ice show or something totally unique, like they've been doing, like every show they've done lately is, we're going to do a unique show about Mexico. We're going to do a unique show about this, you know, about a Broadway show. We're going to try something unique. And it's, so far to me, it's just been a bunch of misfires. So I'm nervous going into Crystal.
Crazy, Curious and misfire. Crazy. Curious is exactly what Cirque needs to take from the past and bring from the future and combine.
I mean, I've watched it a couple times, but to me, they're just shows. They literally, and I don't know, maybe, I don't know how Ricky and Jose, I don't know how you guys feel about like Corteo compared to like, say, you know, like Alegria or Kidam or something like that. But like, to me, it's that kind of contrast. I see it as like just kind of a show that lulls on, and it's a show.
What did I say to you earlier, Jose, that, you know, the earlier shows, most of these, of course, are Dragon shows, where you can't really pinpoint what the theme is. It's there, but you look at shows, and I'm going to pick on this one. You look at Ovo, bugs. The theme is bugs. You look at Curios. I love Curios, but it is a show just wrapped in a steampunk theme.
But not as heavy as the bugs.
Tempest on stage, on a Cirque stage. Windtuck, you know, even though that's an older show, was just about winter. So you're having shows that are about specific themes, where you look at Kidam, you look at Mysterio, you look at Alegria, you look at Saltimbanco, those types of elements, they're not present, because it's about the human condition. And I think that's the difference between yesterday and today. And that's the stuff that Ian is seeing. He is seeing, oh, okay, it's same acts, but it's theme punk aesthetic. Or, okay, now we're a magician show. Or, okay, now we're, you know, Michael Jackson. Or, okay, you know, now we're on ice. Okay, you know, that kind of thing. Where if you look back, and yes, they're the classic, yes, they're their own shows, and we've been through all that before. They're about people or about society, this little element or this little theme. And I think maybe that's the difference. And Jose, I think you kind of agreed with that.
I do. It's very true. I mean, and even Varekai, which was, you know, it has the story of Icarus, but it was really inspired by the story and not the theme of the story per se. You know, we had themes where the flying and the walking and all that, and again, it had a little bit of human in there, even though there's a lot of creatures. Icarus is human as well. So even that show, which was sort of inspired by something else, still had sort of those elements that we don't really see. But really quick, in regards to Crystal, I just want to say that so Crystal's gonna, I guess, soft premiere. I think they're doing sort of what they did with Toruk, where they took it to some of the cities in the States, and then they did the official premiere in Montreal. But this is gonna start on October 5th in Lafayette, Louisiana. It's gonna go to San Antonio, Pensacola, North Little Rock, St. Charles, Minneapolis, and then from there it's gonna go to Canada, I believe.
Yeah, eventually Quebec City and Montreal. I'm sure it'll probably be in Montreal for the Christmas season. They seem to want to have an arena show there or some type of show like that for that season.
So again, I'm excited. I'm gonna go see it when it hits San Antonio. you know, I mean, we'll just see what kind of show we're gonna get. All right, so that is all for this episode. Another, I guess, controversial episode with a lot of difference of opinions. And again,
man.
yeah, I know, and there's nothing wrong with that. So I mean, Darren, don't be upset. And sometimes we're just trying to get into your mind and see why you're thinking.
If anything,
Like
Dario. If anything, Dario, Cirque likes you better than us right now.
Exactly. So, anyways, but like I mentioned at the beginning of the episode, if you haven't seen our previous episode, our interview with Facundo Jimenez, which is the clown who plays the comic in Cirque du Soleil's Curios, go ahead and take a look at that. I mean, it was a very personal interview. It's sort of different than all of our previous ones. Very interesting. And
he gave us
a lot of fun.
Access.
A lot of fun to watch.
He gave us a lot of access to his actual life and his personal experiences and video clips that I just never thought I'd ever see. I mean, it's one of our best episodes, period. It's very full of stuff to visually keep you stunned.
Yeah, so go watch it. And then our next episode after this one will be our visit to Lucia. And we do have an interview with Majo Cornejo, which is the singer, and Alexi, which is the contortionist. And so keep an eye out for that. And make sure to follow us on Instagram, on Facebook, and on Twitter at CirqueCast. And we will see you on the next episode.
Dario, what are you doing?
I was wrapping it up.
The Macarena or something out in the background.
I was wrapping it up. I'm the guy behind the scenes going, wrap it up, wrap it up.